Lions training camp is here. We're going to go over the observations of what took place for the Lions offense and defense, the latest injuries regarding our team that impacts it, as well as the new defense. What is going on over there with Aaron Glenn and his new weapons? Before we get into today's video, if you're a fan of the Detroit Lions, go ahead and smack that subscribe button right now. It's easy to do. Red button. It pushes out the content so you guys get the latest Lions news and rumors. Let's go ahead and start with special teams here. And Khalif Raymond is the primary guy, so they went light on the kick return and punt return. Amon-Ra St. Brown was the emergency guy, so not a lot going on there in all honesty. Let's go ahead and go to the skill players here. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs were splitting starting reps with Craig Reynolds taking RB3 reps. Justin Jackson, he really stood out on special teams as he was the top option. Jax Fox's personal protector. At tight end, rotated Brock Wright, Sam Laporta, and Shane Zylstra. Laporta, who caught the attention of most of the reporters as he continues to flash an offense, picking up where he left off in the spring. James Mitchell repping tight end 4, which is interesting, is a bit surprising, but it's plenty of time, for him to make a move, and they're probably being a little bit light due to the fact that he has been a little bit injured. So, look, I'm not too worried about it right there with his injuries of last year. This is day 1 of training camp, so there's going to be some mixes when it comes to players coming in. Hell, you're going to see some rookies that you expect to start that will not be starting, and vice versa. So, right now, are you excited for training camp? If so, put a hell yeah in the comment section. Hell yeah! You're excited for training camp. Show your passion for our football team. Let's talk about Denzel Mims. He was working individual drills, but he's still acclimating the Lions offense. It's going to be a bit before he actually gets out there with the team. Nice first impressions. Jared Goff says, yeah, big, tall, fast. We all see he's the guy who's obviously has different things happening throughout his career, but lands here. We're excited about him, and we're certainly excited about him. I can't wait to work with him. I've told him that, and he knows he brings an element of our team that we can use as soon as he gets caught up on speed. It's exciting to see him work with us. And I totally agree there when it comes to Jared Goff. I think a lot of us are excited to see the new young player come in here and what he can bring to the Lions offense, especially with you have Jameson Williams, who's not going to be starting or in the game at all for the first 6 weeks due to the fact he was suspended from the gambling issue. It's going to be nice to see what he can do out there when he gets acclimated into the offense, but no doubt there is no worry at all when it comes to him not practicing with the players as of yet. Now, this is the one thing I've been wanting to talk about, and we're getting a glimpse. I think it's the biggest thing we got to pay attention to probably in training camp is the right guard position. The assumption was Halilullah Vati after injury would come in and he would be the starter in starting role at right guard. But it was Graham Glasgow who opened as the first team right guard. Vati took his snaps on the second team. Very, very intriguing. So right now, Graham Glasgow is taking a start. Big V is second string. Another minor change here was Matt Nelson repping at left tackle, allowing Jermaine Ifedi to stick at right tackle. The right Piers Bacher was at center, and Darren Paulo surprisingly got a nod at second team left guard over Kayode Awosika. One of the consistencies with Logan Stenberg's usage after repping with the starters during the walkthroughs, he was the 8th lineman. Stenberg dropped all the way down to rotational player in the third down. I think it's pretty well known at this point that Logan Stenberg, at least in my opinion, is not making this football team. He's just not. And I think a lot of us talked about it this offseason. He significantly dropped in the rotation. But the biggest thing here, and this is going to be a day-by-day analysis for that right guard position. I'm not worried about any other position really on offense except for who's going to be the right guard. and Graham Glasgow repped with the first team. Now, maybe they're trying to make it slow. Maybe they're trying to get a little bit of help to Big V over there so he doesn't come in and have to be taking on a massive load of these starters on defense initially to give him a little bit of help. But it's still very noticeable who is going to be out there because we must have a continuity on offensive line this year to really win this NFC North, to really take a big jump in the NFC itself. We're competing against big teams, and we need to have our starters out there on the offensive line, specifically who is going to be the right guard. Now, look, if Graham Glasgow wins it upright, hey, if he's the best guy for the job, he's got to do it. If Big V can't do it, you know his time after this year is over. So I'm going to ask you a question in the comment section. Who wins the right guard position? Put G for Glasgow or V for Big V. Halapuliti Vati Vaitai. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Emmanuel Moseley, we're getting into that right now, and he was not practicing at all. And Dan Campbell talked about it. It's a little bit of a setback. He seemed a little bit down when he talked about it. Emmanuel Moseley, is the player whom we picked up in free agency to be our cornerback number 2 next to Cameron Sutton, the opposite side. So not having him right now is a big deal. He's still dealing with some issues. In OTAs and minicamp, he was fine. He was out there. He said he's going to be good to go. But folks, Dan Campbell almost looked like a little bit of annoyed a little bit, and he did say it's much of a setback that he is not out there. So what was going on with Moseley not getting the starts? Well, Jerry Jacobs, whom we all love, was playing opposite of Cameron Sutton. I like Jerry Jacobs. I think he'll be fine if there's an injury to Emmanuel Moseley, and at some point, he needs to start even a little bit slower. I do like what Jerry Jacobs bringing to the game, but I think ultimately, obviously, Emmanuel Moseley is a little bit better. Will Harris spent most of last season in the slot, but he was backing up the Cameron Sutton role. So he was the QB behind Cam Sutton. So if Cam Sutton goes down, ultimately he would be the guy. On second team, undrafted free agent who we're all talking about is Starling Thomas, who's looking more and more like he's running away against the rest of the competition. This guy legitimately has a shot to make the Detroit Lions 53-man roster. And ultimately, I'd like to see him do that. Could be above Chase Lucas. Eventually, he could pass Will Harris. And we could got a gem again as an undrafted guy because that's what Brad Holmes does. Jumping into the secondary as a whole is, we all knew it was going to be a hybrid defense, right? We got C.J. Gardner-Johnson. We got Brian Branch that could do safety, that could do nickel, and that's exactly what they saw in training camp. They rotated just 3 safeties through the first team with Tracy Walker, Kirby Joseph starting, then both rotated opposite of Futu Malfonwu in the second team. These 3 are the clear top 3 options at the time, 100%. And it's going to be really nice to see how they continue through training camp on this one. But based on the Lions' offseason moves, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch, was projected that Detroit would lean on the pair to hold down the nickel spot, and that came to fruition day 1. Gardner-Johnson was with the first team, and he showed the proposal range expected for him, lining up over the receiver, attacking the line, and dropping the safety. So you're going to see C.J. Gardner-Johnson play a lot of nickel. And as expected, Brian Branch saw positional movement as well. But again, he's expected to spend time in the slots in the box linebacker as well. So he's, like we see it at OTA's minicamp, he was out there at the linebacker position. The effort to prove you can never have enough good things. The Lions developed both of them on the field at the same time. Brian Branch is going to have a role on this defense week 1 starting. And I love it. He is a premium talent. He needs to be out there on defense. Can you imagine C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch, Cameron Sutton? You got Emmanuel Moseley, when he does get healthy, or Kirby Joseph altogether, my God, that secondary is absolutely ludicrous. It is. So, give me one-word reaction to the Lions secondary in the comment section right now. I'm going to put ludicrous. I think that's a good way. In a good way, though, for sure. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The defensive line here. We got to talk about it. An interesting update. And guess what? Levi Onwuzurike was back in the mix. It gives them huge depth there. If Levi Onwuzurike can break the odds, oh my God, the defensive line is much improved. It is. He was back in the mix. This is a massive positive for Detroit. Ali McNeil and Isaiah Buggs were starting as expected, and Christian Covington and Broderick Martin on the second line. Onwuzurike got involved in the threes alongside Benito Jones, but it's clear they were taking him slow. That's okay that they're taking him slow. That's okay. Him just even in the lineup, big positive for the Detroit Lions there. Massive, massive win. To continue on here, they're slowly getting these edge rushers involved, and the Lions practice-based defense aid Hutchinson, John Kaminsky, and the returning starter roles, but there was a shift in how they used it. At times, Hutchinson would shift close end to Charles Harris. They jump in the stars to the side. Other shifts in front is John Kaminsky and Joshua Pascal at the 5-tech. Harris shifted to the Sam. So you're having a lot of movement here regarding the linebackers and the defensive line. James Houston and Julian Akwar split reps. Akwar started practice repping ahead of Houston, but it wasn't long before they switched spots because Houston is G. We love Houston, and I think everyone expected this to occur here. Hendon Hooker, Marvin Jones Jr. are on the NFI list. Emmanuel Moseley on the PUP. Derrick Deese Morton were placed on the NFI list. So, people like me who thought maybe Hendon Hooker would get a chance, they're taking it really slow. I'm perfectly fine with it. Whether he was playing or not, it would have been a huge positive if it did. But he's already had a schedule, so I'm not worried about that. Good news so far in training camp. I love it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about Lions training camp. Give me your thoughts. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. And guess what? We'll be back with another video tomorrow. With that said, folks, audio.